Part 11. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 101. Chapter 101. Little Belle, you are mine. Gong Qinli still refused to believe that the incident that made Ye Wei sad had developed to the point where it was irreversible, and she even wanted to break away from the Ye family. The next day, Yezikin met Ye Youwei. On the third day, Yezikin took the initiative to find Gong Qinli and asked her for the contact information of Ye's only little aunt Qiao Anyun. On the fourth day, Qiao Anyun returned to China. Qiao Anyun had a private conversation with Ye Wei and asked the question straight to the point, I can get your custody back. Do you want to go to country M with me or stay here? Qiao Anyun's serious expression made Ye Wei slightly nervous. Her lips moved slightly, I want to stay here. Qiao Anyun nodded, you're sensible now, so you might as well talk about many things directly. Since you take the initiative to ask me for help, I will be responsible for providing you with a certain amount of funds, but that's all. Qiao Anyun is a decisive woman. She knows what to do and what not to do. She will never hesitate about something, just like now. Ye Wei's mind echoed with Qiao Anyun's cold and distant expression and serious tone, and he nodded with difficulty. She stood up, pulled out her chair, stepped back slightly, and bent down to thank her. Auntie, I'm very grateful for your help. I will keep your kindness in mind and I will repay you. She is fully aware of her powerlessness at the moment and refuses the material help provided by Qiao Anyun without being pretentious, but she can promise that she will repay this kindness. No, although there is almost no contact between us, the blood relationship is an unchangeable fact. Qiao Anyun and Ye had only met once, so the matter was basically settled. On the fifth day, Yezikin's car parked outside Gong Qinli's small apartment. At this time, Gong Qinli asked innocently, Yi, is Brother Chen going to take you home? Gong Qinli, who still didn't know the truth at this moment, was very excited and waved her hand to go out to meet people quickly. Ye Wei managed a smile. Yezikin helped her open the car door. The action had been replayed in her memory 1,000 times. When she got into the car, she was pulled by the man and knocked into his arms. The familiar smell of vanilla lingered on the tip of her nose. Her nose felt sour, but she resisted breaking away from his embrace. Yezikin put one hand against the back of her head and pressed the other hand on her back, refusing to let her go. Do you want me to hide too? As soon as he opened his mouth, I was surprised to find that his voice was deep and hoarse, as if it had been damaged, adding a sense of decadence. Ye Wei's eyes narrowed and he stopped struggling unconsciously. The two of them were so close that they could hear their breathing so clearly. His fingers snaked downwards, reaching from the collar into the nape of her neck. The cold touch stimulated Ye Wei's skin, making her suddenly wake up. Ye only subconsciously wanted to straighten her back, but was still held in Yezikin's arms. The driver sitting in front honked his horn at the corner. The sound woke up the intoxicated Ye Wei. She struggled and pushed him away resistingly, no. Cold fingers and gentle lips, the vastly different touch of the two attacked Ye Wei's body perception. Her whole body stiffened, and an untimely feeling of heat surged in her heart. Elder brother. Yezikin interrupted her and whispered in her ear, just because I let you go doesn't mean you can sever your relationship with me. Ye was the only one unable to move. He intensified his words, brushing his tongue over her earlobe, his eyes sinking, Little Belle, you are mine. Regarding the question of whether they are separated, Kixi can only guarantee that Yezikin will not go abroad. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 102. Chapter 102. Yezikin's new sister. The driver seemed to be as emotionless as a robot that only knew how to drive, and Ye Wei behind him had been teased to the point of being shy. But now this shyness is not sweet, it is mixed with bitterness. Farewell. Little Belle, you are mine. No, she looked away, not daring to look into his eyes after all. They are not brothers and sisters, nor can they be lovers. The past was cut open, and the cruel devastation of reality overwhelmed the budding feelings. Even the enemy she has kept silent about may be the one she has called daddy for many years. How can she feel at ease calling her biological father? When she got close to the Yejia villa area at night, scenes from the past gradually became vivid in her memory. She clasped her hands tightly and looked away, fearing that she would collapse. "Get off," this sentence is said to the driver. The driver quickly disappeared from their sight, and Ye Wei couldn't even move because she was still held tightly by Yezikin's hand. Yezikin shifted his gaze to her face and suddenly laughed, his hoarse voice carrying an irresistible pressure. "You really can't wait to grow up?" "My, only one." Yes only reaction was to relax his pulling gesture. One hand held Yes only left hand, and the other hand touched the bell on her wrist. Gently tossing it, the sound of the silver bell is still clear and loud. Immediately afterwards, Yezikin's request made Ye Wei suddenly dumbfounded. He said, "How about giving it to me?" When Yezikin and Ye Wei walked to the gate of Yes villa at the same time, they found someone carrying suitcases, white, pink, and some decorations, all in girly colors. Ye looked at Yezikin in surprise. Yezikin's face was expressionless and there was no explanation. It was obvious that he didn't know what was going on. These things cannot be Yezikin's or Madame Yes, and now that Ye Wei is leaving, who is going to all the trouble to move these things? Strange things attracted the only part of Yes' attention. She bought the house one step ahead of Yezikin. The coquettish whispers and gentle laughter coming from inside made her stand there awkwardly, neither leaving nor entering. Yezikin held her shoulders and walked forward. There were two people sitting in the hall at the moment. One was Mrs. Ye, who was elegantly dressed and elegant. There was also a strange face that she had never seen before. She was a girl in a floral dress. She was petite and cute. She looked about 15 years old. Mrs. Ye just pretended that she had not seen Ye Wei, and only stretched out her hand to greet Yezikin. "Chenur, come here quickly. Today, mother will introduce you to someone." Yezikin frowned, obviously in a bad mood. Madame Ye didn't seem to know his dissatisfaction. She directly pulled up the girl next to her and walked to stand in front of Yezikin. She introduced the person next to her with a smile. "Her name is Li Moer. She is temporarily staying at our house. From now on, you have to take care of her like your own sister." After talking to Yezikin, he turned to Li Moer and said, "This is what I told you. My son Yezikin is 3 years older than you. You can call him Brother Chen, Ang." Mrs. Ye secretly pushed Li Moer. Li Moer immediately understood, smiled, and implicitly called Brother Chen. "Tisk," Yezikin showed a mocking smile. "How come I didn't know when you had an illegitimate daughter?" In recent chapters, the names Huaqian Hui, and Qinjian, Qiao Anyun and Li Moer have been chosen. The names are not enough. If you think of them, you can leave a message in the book review area. There is another question. Cute and talented babies, what do you think our family's fan nickname should be? Come use your little brains and explode your little universe. Kixie has chosen 2 favorites. Let's vote for our family's fan nickname. 1. Cute little deer. Deer is the homophone of road. 2. Kaibao, the little treasure of Chinese Valentine's Day. Little cuties, you can directly reply with the number below which one you like. Or if you are lovely and have better opinions, you can leave a reply below. If you are selected by Kixie Festival, you will be rewarded with a red envelope. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixie. Chapter 103. Chapter 103 Ye Wei's Secret Diary. How come I didn't know when you had an illegitimate daughter? The taunt almost made Madame Ye lose her appearance, while Li Mo'er lowered his head as if frightened, and his shoulders trembled slightly. This scene was seen by Ye Weiwei, and there was an indescribable sense of violation. Mrs. Ye quickly found a way down the stairs for herself. Chen'er was so happy to see her sister that she deliberately told a joke. Mo'er is the daughter of my old friend, and she is living in our Ye family from now on. Not my business. Yezikin replied lightly, turned around and touched Ye Weiwei's head, and whispered in her ear in a calm and soft tone, "Let's go." Just when the two of them took the first step up the stairs simultaneously, Madame Ye finally put on a straight face, "Chen'er. What are you talking about? This little girl came to a foreign place alone. You, the elder brother, you should spend time with others. Mother, this is not a shelter all cats and dogs can be let in." Yezikin spoke mercilessly. He glanced at the girl standing next to Madame Ye who was trembling with fear, with disdain in his eyes. Mrs. Ye wanted to shout something else, but Li Mo'er beside her held her arm and kept comforting her, "And Ye, don't be angry. It's Mo'er's fault. It's not enough to satisfy brother Chen." Without a few words, Li Mo'er shed several tears, looking soft and weak. "Don't cry, Mo'er, Auntie is fine." There seemed to be a drama of loving mother and filial piety going on downstairs. Ye Weiwei felt weird from the beginning, until he heard the conversation between Madame Ye and Li Mo'er. Combined with Li Mo'er's words and deeds, Ye Weiwei felt like he was getting a spiritual shock all over his body. Li Mo'er's petite figure, color preference, including her expressions and movements when she is shy, aren't they the only reflection of another night? She even had the trait of being a crybaby. I really can't wait. She has lived in Yejia for many years, and everything here has different memories. She kept packing things in her hands, resisting the urge to shed tears as she took away some of her important things. She collected the most precious relics of her parents, including a note containing a special diary. While checking things, she took out the dried flower branches from the wishing bottle and accidentally brought out a small pink roll smaller than her thumb. The small pink roll was under the suitcase, and no one found it until the night when I dragged it except the room. Since Ye Weiwei returned here to pack her things, she had already agreed with Yezikin about her departure. Yezikin will not stop him now, because he has figured out that the Ye family, Ye Wei, really cannot live in it. Changing places does not mean the relationship between them is over. When Ye Weiwei dragged her suitcase through the hall, she even wanted to say a nice goodbye to Mrs. Ye, but when she touched Mrs. Ye's wanton and mocking expression after she succeeded, Ye Weiwei's face froze and she couldn't hold back a word. Talk. He even deliberately asked Li Mo'er to go upstairs. "Mo'er, go take a look at your new room. If you are dissatisfied with anything, just tell me." Li Mo'er responded obediently. Her room has that nice girly look. Although it looks nice, it has no characteristics. Li Mo'er saw that Ye Yi was half open, so he pushed the door open and walked in by accident. Some things have been taken away here, but she can still see the exquisiteness of this room. Many of the visiting objects are in the shape of animals, which is particularly beautiful. Li Mo'er looked at the room carefully, glanced at the ground casually, and suddenly saw a small pink roll at his feet. The secret diary was picked up. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 104. Chapter 104, A Bell Bracelet for You. A small roll of paper wrapped in thin gold wire is usually something girls use to make wishes, and since this is Yes Only Room, this thing must be Yes Only Room. Li Mo'er smiled lightly, bent down, and picked up the wishing note on the ground. Who allowed you to come in? Yezikin's voice suddenly came from behind, and Li Mo'er subconsciously clenched his hands. She turned around cautiously, acting particularly reserved. "Sorry, I'm just curious, I'm sorry, I won't do it next time." After speaking, he glanced up at Yezikin and then quickly looked away. Those pupils were like wet drops of water, which made people look pitiful. Get out. Yezikin didn't show any mercy to her, and a single word revealed his undeniable strength. Lemur bit her lip and walked away without defending herself. Until she walked back to her room, Lemur spread out her hand, and the pink wishing paper inside had been crumpled by her. She took apart the gold thread, read the few lines of beautiful black writing on the scroll paper, and quickly folded it up. Yezikin immediately locked the door after taking away the things. Lemur, who was standing next door and witnessed everything, had a gloomy expression on his face. Mrsya was arranging flowers leisurely in the hall and humming melodious tunes, looking very happy. When Yezikin passed by, Madame Ye reminded her with a smile on her face, "Chenur, come back after delivering the things. We will take Moer out for dinner later to show our loyalty as landlords and allow Moer to integrate into this world as soon as possible." Family. Yezikin is deaf and deaf. Seeing that he didn't respond, Madame Ye chased him out and yelled, "Moer is your sister too. You, the older brother, must fulfill your responsibilities." Finally, Yezikin stopped and looked over with an expressionless face. His hoarse voice was cold and cold. "Not some messed up person is worthy of being my sister, Yezikin." Getting in the car, I could almost instantly feel that Yezikin was in an extremely bad mood. Are you okay?" Yewiwei finally relented. He raised his hand slightly on his knee, and quickly retracted it before it could touch Yezikin. He caught all her little moves with his peripheral vision, his eyes darkened, and he asked, "Why don't you call me brother?" Yewiwei lowered his eyes in a daze and said, "I'm sorry." Calling her brother made her feel like she was still in Yejia. The car door closed with a bang, and his face was filled with coldness before he knew it. The only night. He hesitated to say which name he called out, but Yewei showed resistance with complicated eyes and retorted, "I am not Yewei." Yezikin held her chin with his backhand and shouted meaningfully, "Okay, Chiao Li." The name that had been buried in her memory was awakened, and her heart suddenly felt stung, but she resisted the feeling of being pressed against her body and unable to breathe. "You really want to break up with me?" Yewei bit his lip, and slowly touched his left wrist with his right hand. The bell bracelet slid past the ulna and pressed between the fingers. It hurt if he applied any more force. There was no lubricant to moisten her hands. She closed her eyes suddenly and forcibly took the bell bracelet out of her hands. A clear bell rang, and the edge of the ulna turned red. Yezikin's whole body was stiff, and he couldn't make any sound while holding her hand. Yewei smiled and held out the bell in his hand, his eyebrows a little more stubborn. "Bell, for you." The bell will also appear in subsequent plots. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 105. Chapter 105, Change name, drop out of school. Yewei transferred to another school, which alarmed everyone at Xinjiao Academy. When the head teacher announced the news to the class, everyone was shocked. Especially Han Xingyi, who immediately stood up and asked, "Where did Yewei go?" "Mr. Han, please sit down, it's class time." Naturally, the class teacher refused to disclose it, but still taught the students strictly not to cause trouble and affect classroom discipline. Han Xingyi endured one lesson and rushed to Gong Qinli to ask about the situation as soon as the bell rang. Gong Qinli shook her head, "Sorry, I don't know either." Gong Qinli didn't seem to be in good spirits either, and she didn't tell the truth when Han Xingyi pressed her. Han Xingyi did not give up and ran into the class teacher's office to make a fuss. After Gong Qinli learned about this, she picked up her phone and wanted to send a text message to Yewei. She typed 2 sentences, hesitated before clicking send, and finally deleted it. The only thing is that it is difficult to figure out, and it is not a good thing for one more person to know. Of course, she knows about the only place Ye can go to. The only way Ye wants to leave Yejia is to give up everything Yejia provides. Aunt Jiao Anyun found her a very simple house and an ordinary middle school, and I had no complaints. But Gong Qinli was very distressed and even argued with her second aunt over her. She has been a eldest lady for more than 10 years, how can she adapt to that kind of life? However, Jiao Anyun responded calmly, everything now is her own choice. Since Jiao Lian has decided to do this, she must stick to that path. After looking for a house and a school, Jiao Anyun gave Ye a card before leaving, saying that he would receive 1,000 yuan on time every month, no more or less. I don't know whether to call Jiao Anyun cold-hearted or what, but all night long, I just feel sincerely grateful to her. Auntie, I will remember everything you gave me. The little appearance seemed unbelievable, but the stubbornness in her eyes infected Jiao Anyun. Before getting on the plane, Jiao Anyun left a message to her, in that case, I'll wait and see. Oh, before Jiao Anyun left, he changed Ye Weiwei's name back to Jiao Liao. Gong Qinli is not used to it, but Ye Weiwei doesn't let her call her surname yet. Hey, what shall I call you from now on? Jiao Weiwei, not bad. Lu Li, don't give me random names. Okay, just call you the only one. Gong Qinli placed a thin notebook on Ye Weiwei's head. The only thing Ye took down and opened was all the notes she had taken during her absence from class. At that moment, she felt deeply. At night, these two people, who are almost like sisters, share the same bed and cover themselves with a quilt. Gong Qinli never mentioned the only sad thing in the night. Instead, she told her interesting things about school, hoping to make her happy. At this time, Gong Qinli suddenly realized that her hands were empty. After a closer look, something was missing, so she curiously asked, "Hey, where is your bell?" Ye Weiwei immediately retracted his hand into the quilt and said nonchalantly, "Give it away." The two of them were silent. After a while, Gong Qinli pulled up the quilt and covered her up, closed her eyes and went to sleep. "Okay, I have to go to school tomorrow to apply for your withdrawal, so go to sleep first." The next morning, Ye Weiwei appeared outside the principal's office, accompanied by Gong Qinli. After a while, Yezikin came, but there was another person beside him, Li Moer. End of this chapter. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 106. Chapter 106 Ye Weiwei vs Li Moer. Li Moer seemed to be talking to Yezikin, and others would guess that the two knew each other. Even Gong Qinli turned her head and asked Ye Weiwei quietly, "What's going on?" Ye Weiwei stared at the two people with burning eyes, gritted his teeth, and said, "I don't know them." Originally, she and Li Moer were strangers from beginning to end. Without waiting any longer, Ye Weiwei flipped through the documents for withdrawal from school, reached out to knock on the door, and entered the office after receiving the answer. Gong Qinli hurriedly followed. Yezikin frowned slightly and then relaxed, his steps involuntarily quickened, and he followed Ye Weiwei in. So many people poured into the principal's office all of a sudden, and the principal's face looked slightly embarrassed. In fact, things like handling admission and withdrawal procedures do not require an in-person meeting, but because Yejia is the largest shareholder of Xinjiao Academy, he has to do it himself. I have a general understanding of your affairs. Ye Weiwei is going to drop out of school, and Li Moer is going to enroll in school. Well, you can submit all the information you have prepared. As soon as the principal spoke, the information of Ye Weiwei and Li Moer was placed on the table at the same time, one on the left and one on the right, and they were all pink folders. The principal originally held the pen in his right hand and placed his left hand on the computer keyboard. At this time, the principal stretched out his right hand to take it, and then turned it back. He stretched his left hand to get it, and then turned it back. The principal stared at the two pink folders on the table, his eyes dazed. Both of these two are young ladies from the Ye family. Yayuyi is known to the whole school as the princess who is held in the palm of Yezukan's hand and doted on. Although Lee Moer has just arrived, she is also the daughter of the Ye family who has been personally called and entrusted with her care. And he still remembered that Lee Moer came in with Yezukan just now. Then the question arises. Now that there is a withdrawal document and an admission document, which one should he deal with first? The young ladies and young masters put the documents down without saying a word. The principal thought about it and let them make their own choices. You, who is more anxious? As soon as this question was raised, Ye Weiwei and Lee Moer actually looked at each other at the same time. Lee Moer first put on a humble expression, I'm not in a hurry. I have to study at Xinjiao from now on, so I have plenty of time. The only person in the night raised his eyes. She was not in a hurry, but Gongkin Li next to her was anxious for her and quietly poked Yes only lower back. Ye Weiwei understood it and knew that Gongkin Li was reminding her, so she smiled and said to Li Moer in a soft tone, thank you. She really didn't make any pretentious concessions. Then when Ye Weiwei reached out to push her folder forward a little, a graceful arm passed by her and placed Lee Moer's folder in front of the principal. Yes only gaze was stagnant. This Lee Moer who came out halfway is very similar to her, and can even replace her position in her brother's heart. Principal, he seemed to be frightened. It seems that this new rich lady related to the Ye family is going to take over? But after all, this person is not named Ye, how can he still compete with Ye Wei for favor? The principal's inner drama is extremely rich. Not only is he confused about this, he even makes up related stories in his mind about the identity of the real and fake daughter is interchanged. But after thinking about it, the principal took Lee Moer's information and started processing it. Yes only hand was just frozen in mid-air. Gongkin Li's eyes were dazed, and she wanted to ask impatiently, but she saw Yezukan calmly holding Ye Weiwei's little hand in front of everyone. A slap in the face? Or give out candy? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 107. Chapter 107 Slap the little in the face. Ye Weiwei thought of what happened just now, and naturally felt conflicted and wanted to break away. However, this soft resistance was not harsh at all, but gave people a feeling of being cute and coquettish. Don't make trouble. Yezukan's fingers traced across the hollow of her fair neck, causing her body to tremble slightly. But these two words made Ye Wei unhappy. She already had a grudge against Lee Moer. Just now, Yezukan personally pushed Lee Moer's information to the principal for processing. This was undoubtedly a move that made her unhappy. Furthermore, she was said to be making trouble. She was not making trouble at all, she was just having a little temper. When a person is used to being well behaved, others will think that you should be obedient and not resist. But she lived like that for too long, and in the end she found that she would become a weak and bully person, which was of no use at all, so she thought, it would be better to become a little worse. I didn't make a fuss. She retorted, but her voice remained small. Who would have thought that Yezukan actually lowered his head and chuckled softly in her ear, are you angry? Feeling a warm breath blowing behind the nape of his neck, Ye Wei turned his head slightly to deny it, no. A shrewd look flashed in Yezukan's eyes, and he immediately explained, she has nothing to do with me. Really, yes only strength disappeared in an instant. She felt annoyed after saying this. Normally, wouldn't it be because she asked him why he pushed Lee Moer's information just now? Ye Weiwei took a breath. After all, the habits he had developed since childhood had been integrated into his blood and could not be easily changed. Fortunately, Yezukan had enough fun teasing her, and as if he knew how to read minds, he answered all the questions Ye Weiwei had not yet asked. The reason why I asked the principal to deal with her first is because I hope you can stay here a little longer. Yezikin's show of weakness made Yewai's heart soften completely. The principal worked at a good speed and quickly processed Limoer's admission documents, and then gave a few words of advice. Limoer wrote down all the arrogant words and answered them obediently. The principal thinks that the Ye family is really magical. The genius son is cold, cool and domineering. However, the two rich ladies who came out of the Ye family are well behaved and obedient. They look petite and weak and are easy to bully. While writing and signing, the principal thought for a while before taking out yes-only withdrawal information. Limoer put away his things and turned his eyes to Yezikin. No matter how close he and Yewai were at the moment, Limoer prayed so calmly and fearlessly, "Brother Chen, Moer just came to school, okay, can you take me around?" Yewai was stunned. She didn't expect that Limoer was so bold. But Yezikin didn't even bother to raise his eyelids. Obviously he didn't take Limoer to heart. If Gongkinli hadn't run away just now and stayed here to hear these words, she would have gone berserk in a minute. No one responded. Limoer was not annoyed, but her face was slightly red, as if she was shy and embarrassed. "I'm sorry, if my request will disturb you, can you help me find someone? I just want to see the campus and have a general understanding of the campus." Limoer used retreat to advance, this move good chess move. However, what Limoer met was none other than Yezikin, who was protective of his shortcomings and unreasonable. "This classmate, do I know you?" Yezikin's indifferent question shocked Limoer's whole body, and she felt so aggrieved that tears welled up in her eyes. "Thank you Zioxi, Qinyi, Xiatian and other friends for your rewards. Regarding the issue of updates, Kixi will update 4 chapters every day. Because I have to go to work during the day, I usually update at night. Please understand." End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 108. Chapter 108. Yewai is quarrelsome. Seeing Limoer's tearful look, Yewai felt quite magical. Some of her expressions were like looking into a mirror. "I finally understand." Yewai leaned against Yezikin and let out a sigh. She may have looked like this before. No wonder others didn't like her because she looked fake. Next, the principal had a new battle in his mind, and it seemed that Miss Ye was more important. The principal turned a deaf ear to what was going on outside the window and did not interfere in the grievances between them. He quietly handled the information about the two of them. When Yewai was about to get his things back, Yezikin still took advantage of his long hands to hold the things in his hands first. "Walk." "Why?" Yewai was dragged out of the office by Yezikin before she could thank the principal. She looked back and found Limoer following closely behind. Yewai didn't know where Yezikin was taking her. What she was most concerned about was why Limoer was following them. Having someone he didn't want to see following behind him was an eyesore, so Yewai forcefully grabbed Yezikin's hand and paused for a moment. At this time, some students from the surrounding area were already looking over, and even the corridors were gradually filled with people. "Just kidding, this is the first time I've seen Ye return after announcing that he was transferring to another school. Today, however, there was a cute girl who looked about the same age as Yewai and Yezikin next to them. Looking at the face alone, that Limoer is different from Yewai who has not lost her baby fat. She has a standard delicate and small face shape, which is prettier at first glance. Looking at their figures and clothes, those who don't know will definitely think that they are twins." Classmates A, B and C all gathered together to chat and gossip, and the ones they talked about most now were Limoer and Yewai. Most of the students in this Xinjiao college are the second generation of officials and the second generation of rich people. They are well informed but not well informed. They know many things, but their understanding is incomplete. They did a rough analysis. Classmate A, who touched his chin and thought deeply, someone must have arranged it deliberately. Classmate B with a look of disdain, anyone with a brain knows that this is a special arrangement, But why does Ye Wei have to leave when Li Mo'er comes? Classmate C, who was munching on melon seeds, said, "Look at those TV dramas nowadays, where you have the wrong child when you were a child, and then you grow up and recognize your ancestors and the poor people. Is this plot a Thief 6? Yes, only gaze moved away. Are you okay?" "No. It's okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you." Li Mo'er quickly raised his head and then lowered his head, a little shy when speaking. "Oh." Ye Wei, who had no offensive power, was at a loss to face this atmosphere. Yezikin lowered his head and bit her ear, not knowing what he said. Yes, only finger slowly clenched. After Yezikin raised his head again, Ye Wei raised his eyes to look at Li Mo'er and criticized seriously, "I know it's disturbing, so why don't you leave quickly?" As soon as he finished speaking, Ye Wei didn't dare to look at Li Mo'er anymore. He turned back to Yezikin and suddenly showed a bright smile, his bright eyes seemed to be asking for credit. Li Mo'er's expression froze. Bystanders with good ears feel as if they are holding a straw in their hearts. Classmate A with a dropped jaw, "What did you say just now?" Classmate B, "Did Ye Wei say that?" Classmate A, "The only thing at night is." Classmate B, taunting someone. Classmate C's melon seeds fell to the ground. How cool is it to use a little bell to make people laugh? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 109. Chapter 109. Li Mo'er was bullied. Ye Wei seemed to be fearless and said bluntly, not saving face for Li Mo'er, "We have other things to do, so don't follow us." She spoke with a particularly serious tone and expression, as if she was talking about a matter of course. Li Mo'er grabbed the hem of her clothes, with tears in her eyes. She didn't cry, but she looked even more pitiful. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I just came here, and I'm unfamiliar with everything." "But what does that have to do with us? We are not familiar with it." Ye Wei spoke every word, and his tone was neither coquettish nor arrogant. It was impossible to tell whether he was deliberately making things difficult, as if he was just describing a fact. Maybe it's because her innocent face doesn't look like she would embarrass others. Li Mo'er's words were choked. The onlookers were amazed. The only person Ye was angry with was the new transfer student Li Mo'er, who was closely related to the Ye family. This is simply historic news for Xinjiao College. Moreover, careful people discovered that Yezikin whispered in her ear before Ye Wei started to quarrel with others. Doesn't that mean that Yezikin teaches Ye only to fight against Li Mo'er? There is something good to watch now. There were more and more people watching, but they missed one thing. After all, Ye Wei was thin-skinned. After standing there pretending to be calm for a while, his legs became weak, his eyes blinked, and the strength of his hand holding Yezikin became stronger. Yezikin held her hand in a funny way, lowered his head and said, "Go," in her ear. "There are too many people and it is not suitable for them to talk." Ye Wei got what she wanted and followed Yezikin obediently, her short legs moving very fast. This time Li Mo'er was too embarrassed to follow her. She was at a loss when faced with everyone's scrutiny. Some kind-hearted people couldn't stand the pitiful appearance of the little girl's clothes, so they came over and asked her where her class was. Li Mo'er is older than Ye Wei, but because he has been out of town for a long time, he automatically dropped a grade when he came back to study here, so he also takes the second grade of junior high school. What a coincidence, the principal arranged Li Mo'er into Ye Wei's original class. The head teacher was still the same meticulous head teacher. She brought Li Mo'er in, briefly explained to everyone about the transfer students, and then asked Li Mo'er to introduce herself. Li Mo'er is not very lively, but her sweet voice is enough to confuse everyone. Everyone summed it up and clapped their hands. "Come on, A new version of Yuiwei is here. Very good, Mr. Li, please find a seat first. Looking around, there is a seat in the front row, and the other free seats are in the last row. According to Li Mo's small stature and personality, she would not choose the last row, so she walked to the back seat of Han Zhengyi. As soon as Li Mo took his seat, Han Zhengyi, who was at the front desk, slapped her on the desk and stared at her, threatening, "If you are aware of images, move your place." The head teacher yelled at him, "Han Zhengyi, what are you causing trouble again?" Han Zhengyi turned around and smiled mischievously, "Teacher, I am exchanging feelings with my new classmates." He has always been shameless, and the teacher can't do anything to her. Even Gongkin Li stood up and helped, "Yes, teacher, a new classmate has just arrived, let us communicate with her." The head teacher was so angry that he banged his textbook on the table. These two people were considered cancerous in the class, but they couldn't be beaten or scolded. They were allowed to communicate with their new classmates, and within 3 minutes, Li Mo was communicated to the last row of the classroom. At this time, Han Zhengyi finally calmed down his expression and slipped out of the classroom while the teacher was away. He followed the message sent to him by his friend and looked for it, but saw, the person he was looking for seemed to be kissing. At the end of the month, cuties who often leave messages and sign in will be selected in the book review area and given red envelopes. Do you still want to see Brother Chen teach little Lingdang to yell at people? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 110. Chapter 110 The Truth About Father's Death. When he was bullying Li Mo in class, Han Zhengyi received a message from his friend from another class, saying that he saw Ye Wei and Yezikin in which direction on campus. He searched all the way, but saw a heart-wrenching scene. The two people hugged each other tightly, as if no one in heaven and earth could separate them. That's what it's going to be like. Did he think too much and cause hallucinations? How could Ye Wei and Yezikin be like this? Han Zhengyi grabbed his hair in disbelief and jumped 2 or 3 times in irritation. He who always acted recklessly did not dare to take another step forward. After getting caught in the rain at Yes Villa, he thought that his relationship with Ye Wei would get closer. Who would have thought of going back to the same place again, and now Ye Wei was about to leave school. The night he won the first place in the singing competition, he planned to confess his feelings, but accidentally got beaten up by Yezikin, whom he thought was his eldest brother-in-law. When he saw Yezikin, he was very unhappy and angry. But he couldn't help it because he was Yes' only brother, so no matter how much he hated Yezikin, he would restrain himself. He missed the first night. He was thinking about the celebration party scheduled for the next day, so he bought a bouquet of bright roses in the way adults flirt with girls and planned to express his love at the dinner party, but Ye Wei didn't come. He missed the opportunity to express his love for the second time. Today is Yes' last day at Xinjiao. He mustered up the courage to try to express his love again, but when he ran over excitedly, he encountered such a scene. My heart felt completely cold. Under the big tree with lush green leaves, Ye Wei was held tightly in Yezikin's arms. Yezikin's hands rubbed her slender waist, keeping close and unwilling to let go. The whole person was leaning on Yezikin's arms. If you can't break free, just go with the flow, close your eyes and rely on it. It's just that the thoughts in her heart were extremely quarrelsome. Obviously he resented his adoptive father Yehantian because of the incident when his father died in a car accident, but he could never resist Yezikin. In her opinion, Yezikin has always been different and does not belong to anyone. There is no such thing as blaming Yezikin for the grudges of the previous generation. She suspected Yehantian and targeted Yehantian, but she would not blame Yezikin indiscriminately. Little Belle, you are actually very smart, smarter than anyone else. I'm stupid. She lowered her head and couldn't see the expression on her face and the nervous eyes at this moment. You are the girl who was raised by me. I know you better than anyone else, even better than yourself. Yezikin lifted her chin, stared at the corners of her aura eyes, and said something unexpected. Yeah, subconsciously bit her lip again, but it hurt as soon as her teeth touched her lower lip. Because just now. Yes, only little move amused Yezikin. He held up her chin to have a look, but Ye Wei turned her head to the other side cautiously, fearing that he would not be able to hold back and kiss her just by looking at her. Not a taunt but a chuckle. Yezikin forcibly held her face back, lowered his head, and put his forehead between her eyebrows. I know you have a clearer mind than anyone else. How about we make an agreement? Ye Wei was slightly stunned, and only followed his words and asked, what? No matter when you find out the truth about your father's death, please don't implicate your resentment on me, okay? The final sound is a bit shaky. According to the routine, if the heroine knows that her father's death is related to the male protagonist's father, she will break up with the male protagonist to the death. What do you think? End of this chapter.